Something very unusual, something that does not happen often at all. In fact, something that is quite rare has just happened for Bitcoin. It's also happened for the S&P 500. I'm going to be talking about both of those rare chart signals that we've just seen for the markets here in just a moment. But I want to start off today with this story, and that is that Bitcoin was mentioned in 424 company SEC filings last month as institutional adoption continues to grow. This is absolutely crazy. We are seeing an exponential increase in the amount of cryptocurrency adoption. I mean, we had just last week that Amazon has sort of been leaked out that they're working on an NFT platform. I mean, that's insane, guys. Amazon's getting into NFTs. Instagram's already into NFTs. Facebook's in NFTs. Twitter's in it. Everyone's getting into NFTs, man. They're kind of like the Trojan horse for crypto more broadly. But when you actually start to dig into all the institutional adoption going on, you see like Visa, they announced that they're working on how to do large settlements of USDC on the Ethereum blockchain because Visa's smart. They understand that they are going to get blockbustered if they don't get on board the damn crypto train, man. They can't rest on their laurels as a payments provider. They have to keep innovating. That's exactly what they're doing. And then we see this. All these companies interested in Bitcoin, either as an asset that they can store as an alternative to cash, right? Because they understand the dynamics of Bitcoin, or perhaps they're looking to actually use Bitcoin. For example, the Lightning Network just reached a new all-time high capacity, which means that Bitcoin is scaling. It means that Bitcoin is becoming more used and usable for payments. Right? That could be for payments at stores like we're seeing in El Salvador. That could be cross-border payments across the entire continent of Africa. That could be paying for a coffee down at your local cafe in Kansas or whatever, right? This means that Bitcoin becomes super usable because transactions become near free, right? They're so cheap, they're almost free in this situation. So it's pretty gosh darn awesome to see the Lightning Network scaling like that. Okay, so that's the news section of today. I wanted to share those stories with you. I thought they're very exciting. So the S&P 500 as well as Bitcoin have both just put in golden crosses. This doesn't happen very much. So this is on the daily charts in case you're not familiar with what a golden cross is. That is when the 50-day simple moving average, this light blue line on the chart here, crosses over the 200-day simple moving average, the other slightly darker blue line on the chart here. I suppose I could have chosen better colors for those. Anyway, that is the key point, that we are seeing this bullish crossover, which is called a golden cross. Now, we don't see these happening super often. So let's go on the S&P 500. We can see the last time that we had one, and then of course what happened afterwards. Last time was after the big COVID crash. That's when we got a very strong one coming in. If we go back before that, right, we can see another major crash in 19. That is when we had, once again, after which we had that bullish crossover. That happened, of course, in March 2019, which largely coincided with the risk-on attitude that came into the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets and saw that big Bitcoin rally coming in. We have been very linked to the equity markets for a long time in crypto. Go back even further, you can see last one we had back in May 16. Again, big move up here, but I'm more interested in the ones where we actually had a big downtrend. See, it's been a big downtrend on the 200-day simple moving average. We didn't have such big downtrends on any of these other moves. We actually have to go a long way back to have that kind of a big, dramatic downtrend to the 2008 crash, right? So we have not corrected as much as that. That's to be clear, where this was a much more dramatic crash back in 2008. But you can see we had a very strong downtrend, and then once we had that move back higher, markets really took off. And yeah, there were a few little death crosses and little golden crosses along the way before markets went off to just this insane rally. But we can see that when we get these kind of crosses, it can be a big event for the market. Although, one thing to keep in mind is that the fear and greed index for the stock markets has just entered into extreme greed at 75, although we are seeing that recently the markets have been correcting a little bit. So maybe that greed will cool off in the coming days. Now, before we talk about the Bitcoin charts, if you are a cryptocurrency trader, then you need to get yourself an account over on Bybit. It is the best exchange for trading futures. They have a zero-fee spot market, which is totally crazy, game-changing if you're a big volume trader. As well, you can get up to $30,000 in deposit bonuses by using that link down below in the description to start your account. Now let's talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin as well, we are seeing a golden cross on the daily charts. Once again, a very rare event. Also interesting to see the price action of Bitcoin coiling up the way it has been here. Does that bring us up to a next target around $25,000? If it does, that could bring us up to run into the 200-week simple moving average. More on that in a moment. The golden cross here on the daily, you can see we've had this big downtrend. Now, last time we had a golden cross was actually back in September 2021. That resulted in a nice little price rally here for Bitcoin from the time of the cross upwards. We had about a 50% price rise, but this looks a lot more like something like this, right? So this is the top from 2017. This is the resulting bear market that came in afterwards. We see, of course, a massive downtrend in the 200-day simple moving average. We see the 50-day finally starting to move back up here once again in coordination with around the same time the stock markets were moving. But nevertheless, we did see that crossover here, and that resulted in a 200% price rally before, of course, we inevitably got our death cross again and then had all kinds of market trauma. But this kind of big downtrend followed by a golden cross, just like what we're seeing right now, has typically resulted in some pretty big moves for Bitcoin. So is history about to repeat, or are we going to get the fake out of fake outs happening here? I will be curious to see how, of course, that plays out, because you have to keep in mind too that even though this golden cross after such a long downtrend on the daily charts is actually a pretty bullish thing, especially when so many other charts have been lining up to show that, well, this could actually be the start of a decent rally here for the markets. This could be just the beginning. We do have to contend with this, which is the weekly charts, and that is that we are just on the verge of getting a death cross on the weekly charts, especially if we have a nice big fat red week this week. You can see there, look, it has not quite confirmed yet. It's very close, right? Will that larger time frame reality end up canceling out our daily golden crosses? Perhaps, right? And look, the golden crosses, the death crosses, they're not perfect indicators, but it can certainly tell you a good bit of information about how markets have been performing, and of course, how we can look back historically and see what has happened after we have had these golden crosses happening for the markets, where we have seen them being big events for price catalysts. So we shall see if history is going to rhyme once again in this situation, because we know it doesn't repeat, but it does often rhyme. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. See you next time.